Page 36. Still, Kirsten stayed near the sick bay until Mama found her. "I've looked everywhere for you," Mama said. "There's nothing we can do for Marta. Not with cholera. You must take care of yourself, Kirsten. Stay close to me and Papa, please." So Kirsten stayed close to Mama, but her thoughts were with the sick friend. She told herself that Marta would get well. Over and over she said she must get well. Kirsten wasn't able to eat, and that night she was sure she would never sleep, but she fell into a restless doze. Later she woke up with a start. Something was terribly wrong, but in her sleep she'd forgotten what it could be. Then she remembered Marta. Kirsten ran down to the sick bay. Through the parted curtains she saw that Marta was gone. "She's better then," Kirsten thought. She ran up to the deck to find her friend. The sun was just rising. The riverboat was anchored at a sandy beach below tall bluffs. A gangplank had been lowered for the sailors, who carried a wooden box on their shoulders. They walked along the shore. Marta's father stood at the railing where Kirsten had seen them last. His arm was around Marta's mother. Kirsten grabbed Marta's father's sleeve. "Where's Marta?" she asked. He pointed to the sailors with their box. "Our Marta died last night," Kirsten said. "Night, Kirsten. The sailors will bury her here. Her soul is in heaven." Then he hid his face in his hands. "She can't be dead," Kirsten cried. "She can't be." Kirsten felt as though her heart was ripped in two. She heard deep sobs that hardly seemed her own. They filled up her chest. She tried to say her friend's name, but her lips wouldn't form the words. Then Kirsten felt Mama's arms around her. And Papa patted her on the shoulder. "Enough crying. Stop now, Kirsten," he said, but Mama cradled her and said softly, "Let her have her tears." Home at last. It was raining when the Larsens left the Red Wing. Kirsten didn't watch the river boat pull away from the dock. She didn't even ever want to see the boat again, because Marta had died on it. She was lonely for Marta, and there wasn't any sun in Minnesota to look at with a prayer. So Kirsten looked at the town of Riverton. She saw wet houses with wet trees and wet horses pulling wagons loaded with wet logs. She blinked into the rain. "God bless you, Marta," she whispered. Mama touched her cheek. Cheer up, Kirsten. When Papa and the boys come back with the wagon, it will only take a few hours to reach Olive's farm." But Papa frowned with worry when he strode back to the dock where Kirsten and Mama waited. "We don't have enough money left to rent a horse and wagon," he said. Mama's shoulders slumped. "What will we do?" she asked. Papa made his voice strong. "We have our good legs. We'll walk to Olive's farm. We'll just have to leave the trunks here." Mama looked first at the big painted trunk that held their most precious things, then at the black food trunk which Papa named, lettering on its side. "Everything we own in the world is in these trunks," she said sadly. "How can we get along without our clothes and our tools?" "We'll take what we can carry now, and we'll have the trunks shipped later," Papa said. "Don't lose heart." He began taking blankets and tools about the big trunk. After a moment, Mama said, "It can't be helped. We'll send for them soon. People are more important than things, and we're all together, and, well, thank God." She made a bundle of the bread and cheese that was left, and then closed the food trunk. Papa said, "We need everyone's hands today. Kirsten, we must put the doll here with the other things. We can get her again when the trunks are shipped to us." Kirsten knew she couldn't say no to Papa. Gently she put Sari on the top of the sweaters and linens in the painted trunk. Before Papa closed the top, she kissed Sari's faded cheeks. "You'll be with me soon," she whispered. Then Papa fastened the lock, and he and Lars dragged the trunks to the warehouse. The family followed Papa down the road, along the river, past tiny houses built of split logs. Everyone carried a bundle, and they walked for hours. Kirsten's boots were heavy with mud. Her wool skirt was soaked through to her petticoat. Sometimes she heard a cow moo, but there were long stretches of forest or prairie between farms. Even Lars was tired now. He walked with his head down, his long hair plastered to his neck by the rain. By afternoon the rain stopped. The sky was a smooth blue bowl. Meadow larks flew up from the fields, and daisies and black-eyed Susans bloomed beside the road. The Larsens were a long way from town when they stopped to eat lunch. "Olive wrote us the truth," Papa said. "The soil here is good. We'll have a better life." Before they walked on, Kirsten picked a daisy for Mama to wear at her collar. Now Papa asked the way at each farm they passed. At last he said, "The next one is Olive's." In the distance Kirsten could see a house, a large barn, and a tiny cabin. Cows ambled down the field toward the barn to be milked. Smoke rose from the chimney of the house. Lars and Peter began to run. Splashing through the puddles, Lars shouted, "Hello!" and Peter cried, "We're here, we're here." A man with a smile like Papa's came from the barn. Two girls and a woman ran from the house They waved and called out, "Hello, hello, it's you at last." Suddenly Kirsten was shy. She shrank back behind Mamma. Then she heard her own name above the shouts and laughter. "Kirsten, you must be Kirsten." And that is page 45.